Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, featuring today's top directors sharing behind-the-scenes stories of their latest films and insights into the craft of directing. The Director's Cut is now available on Spotify, so please take a second to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Anne Fletcher's new comedy, Dumplin. Adapted from the best-selling young adult novel by Julie Murphy, the film tells the story of Willowdean Dumplin Dickson, a plus-size teenager living in the shadow of her former beauty queen mother. To prove a point about measuring up and fitting in, Dumplin signs up for her mom's Miss Teen Bluebonnet pageant. But her protest takes on a life of its own when other contestants follow in her footsteps, revolutionizing the pageant and their community. In addition to Dumplin, Ms. Fletcher's directorial credits include the feature films Hot Pursuit, The Guilt Trip, The Proposal, 27 Dresses, and Step Up. Following a recent screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Ms. Fletcher spoke with director Adam Shankman about filming Dumplin. During their conversation, Ms. Fletcher discusses why she prefers to shoot at a location rather than on a stage, why she made Dumplin her first digital film, and how instrumental Dolly Parton was to making the soundtrack as well as the film itself.
Hi, my name is Adam Shankman. Yeah, that's me. I have had the privilege of being friends with our director here for,
1990.
28 years. We danced together on the Oscars in 1990. And formed a fast friendship. And I always, she's a very, very special lady. She is, in fact, my best friend. So everything that I'm about to ask her, I know the answer to.
And detailed answers.
But there's always a surprise with this one. And if you don't know anything about her, her first movie was Step Up, and it was a job that I produced. Yes. So, and when she said, "Why are you making me be a director?" I said, "Because I need you to understand the pain that I endure every day of my life, and the privilege." And and after that, she took some time off while I did Hairspray. She helped me with Hairspray, and then went on to direct 27 Dresses, The Proposal, Hot Pursuit, The Guilt Trip, and then this. And now Dumplin. And I think, was listed in Variety as the most hired in the last decade woman director in the business. Has directed the most movies for studios in there, and this was her first independent film with Dumplin. And I don't even know if you know this, that your box office is crawling very close to $700 million.
I did not know that.
That is very, very with all the women who are working today, this is a very aspirational kind of a box office to own. So that's all good. Anyway, obviously the first question that I have for you, young lady.
Is it obvious?
It is obvious. When you are choosing a project, what is it that you are looking for, and then ultimately, why Dumplin?
I feel like we're so close.
We are extremely close.
Don't you think we're close?
We are very
on this
close.
big stage. I'm always looking for. Well, you know these answers, so it's awkward. It's awkward because he knows everything. But
I actually don't know what you're looking for in a project.
Okay. I love character-driven anything I can glom onto or connect with. I'm sure that most directors would say the same thing. Anything that's grounded in truth, and in the truth, you can basically go anywhere. And as zany as it can be, like The Proposal, I think that we had a lot of set pieces that I feel like functioned and worked because everything was grounded in truth. And so for this movie, Dumplin, I got halfway through the script and wrote an email. I was in London, an email to my agency, and I have to do this movie. It's mandatory because of the friendships and the girl power and what they're struggling with, and the death of Lucy, and the mom and daughter struggle is all so real for most girls who are raised in this world. And I didn't have anything of its kind. And so I wrote him, I have to do this movie immediately. Please tell them I accept and I want to do this. And he said, great. Wait till the drag queens show up. And I was like, what? Like, how's that happen in this small town in Texas? And I honestly thought maybe I should have finished reading it before I said yes. But to my delight, they are the fairy godmothers of our story. And that's really ultimately why I took it, is just, you know, it's hard to describe, but girls, didn't have movies like this helping us dismantle the narrative about who we are from society's point of view, our friends, teachers, you know, magazines, movies and stuff like that. We as girls would take that on as truth and go out into the world and grow up with all of this negativity about who we should be as women in the world. That this movie really spoke to me of wanting to give this to the new generation of girls. I mean, there was a joke, Danielle and I, the lead of the movie, and I were standing on set, and I said something, as I usually do, of, I'm fat, old, and ugly. And she said, Anne, we're doing this movie. We're doing this exactly for this reason. I said, oh, honey, I'm too far gone. This is for the new generation of girls. Like, that's what we're trying to get to. But that's what it spoke to me, the young girl who wanted somebody to tell me that no matter how we're born, whatever we are is perfect the way we are, and to embrace our inners and not so much our exteriors, and don't listen to the lies that are told to us. And the people that love you for your insides will be there for you. I just got so serious.
No. And you know, it's funny because I've always said, we've talked about this a lot, is I always said, you know, when we're doing junkets and we're talking about Q&As and stuff like that, it's really important. Like, I was like, we're not curing cancer here. Like, we're telling stories, and they are, you know, stories that are, by and large, you know, in the world of, when you're talking about making movies and you're talking about high stakes versus low stakes, like high stakes would be anything, you know, where lives are on the line and, you know, like there's a potential death or like, you know, serious life-threatening and altering kinds of stuff. A lot of the movies that you and I have both made are more about like low stakes, which are like, how am I going to adjust to the world in which that I live in? Who am I? What am I going to become? And all of that. When you are approaching Dumplin, so assuming your eyes in character was Willowdean, how did you personally relate to her? Because I know that you think about like telling the narrative through her experience. How did you personally relate to her? And also, like, what was important to you in the development of the script to make sure that you were drawing out the necessary drama to tell that story most effectively? I'm making this up. This is fun. This wasn't even on my thing. I don't know the answer. This is good.
Well, I think you probably do.
Okay, I do.
Willowdean, to me, is just every girl. You know, her issue, and we don't really point at it severely, her issue is her weight. But every girl can identify with her. Anyone who feels like they're on the outside of, quote, society's norms can identify with Willowdean. So that is what I gravitated to her. Mainly teenage girls, and I know boys have it too, but our story was about this young girl, Willowdean, and her hideous teenage insecurities. And her insecurities were tied together with her weight. But really, in truth, the thing that was driving her and her suffering and her insecurities and all that was attached to it with her was the death of Lucy. And when I came on board, I grounded the script to be everything is, the heart and the soul is Lucy. And we've now taken the anchor of this family away. How does this teenager succeed in the world? How does she relate to her mother? How does her mother relate to her? And one of the other things that I know I'm sort of veering off, but one of the other things I tried to do was make sure that it's all from Willowdean's perspective, and that's a teenage girl without a great deal of life experience, and she is putting her own perspection is not right.
That's not a word. That has never been a word.
Bush made up words. Trump made up words.
Okay. Great club. Okay, so yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hooray for me. So her perspective. What is the
perspective?
Thank you. I'm like, what is the word I'm looking for? her perspective of the world. So when the pretty blonde girl comes in, Becca, a teenager will look at her and immediately hate her or think she's a bitch because of the way she looks. But when you flip the lens on her, she's also dealing with her own insecurities. And I wanted to keep all the girls nice because it's really what every teenager is struggling with is their own insecurities, whether they have zits or curly hair or brown eyes or fat, skinny, tall, short, whatever they're struggling with, wanting to keep that a part of the whole story. So I'm all the girls. I'm the mother. I understand this flawed Rosie. I understand the choices that she made to be skinny, to fit into society because she wasn't strong enough as a woman or as a person to be like her sister Lucy, who embraced her fatness and went out into the world and said, I am dynamic the way I am, and also gave that to Willowdean. So I identify with all these girls because I think each thread of the movie is a version that most women and young girls can understand because it's what we struggle with all the time. When Jennifer Aniston and I sat down to talk about Rosie, we were both going at it, and we love her for this and we love her for that, and she really is a good mom. She just doesn't know how to be a good mom because, Lucy carried the torch for her and carried the family and gave her Willowdean everything she needed, and then simultaneously we would burst out crying because we loved her so much, all of her flaws and all of the mistakes, her potential mistakes that she's made, the roads that she's chosen. We'd want to root for her to just embrace who she was, but she didn't. But that's her journey. Yeah. And I'm sweating. Thank you.
And it's interesting because no matter how you sort of cut it, every good story told is a story of survival. So it's really Willowdean. This was Willowdean's. This was her. About like how do I survive in this world? This how you're talking about Rosie. This is my survival techniques. These are my coping mechanisms, and those are the kinds of things that when you are developing, you want to make sure that the stakes are as authentic as possible. Now I'm lecturing. I'm actually not asking anymore. I'm not telling you. No. But it's true. It's one of those things. Like when you're trying to look at these stories, especially where there's all this comedy involved. I think you and I both do the same thing, which is the comedy will happen. Like we'll take care of the comedy. The funny, we'll deal with that. But what is emotionally going on, and what is dramatically going on, and that is why I love you. So what? That's one of the gazillion reasons. So let's get to sort of technical about the movie. So what? Okay, so this was your first independent movie that you'd made outside of the studio systems. What was the difference between that and working with a studio for you?
I didn't notice a difference. I guess I feel like the studio system, when I first started, my first 3 movies, the studio system was functioning properly. And every tier of the system was in place. It is so much fun to work in because everybody knows their position and it's all truly for the betterment of the film. And everyone, looks to you and you look to them, and it's genuinely collaborative. And people have opinions, but you have creative conversations.
This is how you approach it. But
you have creative debates. They're about the creative decision at the end of the day. And then things sort of went askew for a while. Maybe still is, I don't know. But this felt very much like my first 3 movies, where you're working with your producers and the writer, who happens to be the producer, and just only searching for the truth of the movie, and nobody trying to get a set piece in there, or she should kiss the boy more and have more of the love relationship, where there are sometimes studio notes come in that way, and you're like, but we're losing the real truth of the movie and this little girl's growth and what she's really learning, and that she has to make the decision to be with the boy. Because my first 2 romantic comedies really was important for me to say the man, and I love you guys, trust me, I do. But in romantic comedies, the men, they don't need to save the woman. She's fine, but it's just a beautiful, cherry on top, if you will, to have the men there. And in this movie, Willowdean's point is that she finally sees oh, I'm actually worthy of being loved. And now I've made the decision to say, yes, I accept it. But I'm getting off. So I think that it felt very, very much like my first 3 movies, where it was just fun having collaborative conversations and really getting to the heart of the movie and being the one who's looked to have the answers. I'm in no way, shape, or form a control freak, but I have a point of view, and it was honored.
Yeah, no, that's really important. That's really important when you're doing a studio movie, and this has always been my experience too. And I actually know that you've had this experience, which is that you are developing it how you want to, while making a lot of concessions for what they feel like they need for an audience, especially what the kinds of movies that we've made, which have been, by and large. I guess you would call them programmers. They're very foundationally, embedded in the either romantic comedy or comedy thing, and it's very important, and the studio executives have a real point of view about this is really important. But I know in talking to you while you were developing it, it felt like you were really heard when you said like, this is important to me. And the struggle was not with the studio; it was actually more with the writer and you coming to, having a point of view that met, so that you were both satisfied in what, and you and Kristen had a really good dialogue going during that time, Yeah,
really, really good dialogue. Once I realized it was in Willowdean's point of view, period, whenever we got off track, shooting or editing, second we say get back in Willowdean's point of view, everything fell into place, and also rooting it in grief.
Because the studio would probably want Rosie's story to be bigger.
Right. And to me, you're taking a book, as we all know, and you're making it into an hour and 40 minutes, hour 45. And you can't take all of that information and put it in the movie. But what was important to me from the book is actually in the movie. And I think that that's what's resonating with a lot of young audiences or people who feel on the outside. And it was a difficult movie. We shot this, again, independent, 30 days. There's so many performance elements, so many things going on, and so many actors coming and going.
So much driving.
So much.
For a 30-day schedule, that is a lot of driving.
So much driving.
Yeah.
Because we're making Atlanta, Texas. So it's not in the city, and that was our hub. I have literally no idea where I was going, but
in life. But anyway,
that's true.
So, just out of curiosity,
I was going to say that the independent. So 30 days, you're running and gunning as fast as you can, and then I still lost my track. Here I am. Trust me to direct your movie. Please.
Yes. Okay. So it was. I remember it was very challenging. It was very, very challenging to do it on your schedule.
I have no idea what I was going to say. It was 30 days. Thank you, everybody.
Wow. So part of that, when you're making an independent, when you have no budget, the other thing that you don't have, what you generally get a lot of in a studio movie, is you get builds. You get sets that are built, and you get a bunch of stage work, and you had no stage work in this like that.
I prefer practical locations. I would rather never build a single set.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Except
but they do, but they want you to, because then they think that you're able to shoot quicker, and I don't think that is. I like a space to speak to me and not me to speak to it, because I feel like for me, I get much more from the location. But what I will say quickly is the independent idea too. I've only shot on film, anamorphic film, every single movie except Dumplin. So not only was it my first independent, it was first digital, because digital visually makes my skin crawl. I think it's ugly. And especially women of a certain age. Like I wanted to be beautiful, but it was here at the DGA. I Q&A'd last year, I think, the French Film Festival of Mr. and Mrs. Edelman. And it was the first, I knew it was digital, but it was the first time I looked at the movie and said, okay, they're so close. Like they did such an amazing job making this digital film look like film. So when I hired my DP, Elliot Davis, I gave him the movie. I said, this is what I'm looking for. Figure out the math, how they put this whole thing together. And that's what he did. And for me, I look at the movie with a very critical eye, because digital, just everything's so hard. I don't understand it. But we worked really hard to try to make it look filmic.
So I guess that would mean you'd want spaces that you could actually put a lot of atmosphere in.
We had a lot of atmosphere.
Yeah.
We had
polite word for smoke.
I think that we had ghosts and scenes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to another point. Like, so you didn't have the opportunity, because of either the schedule or because of the budget, to use your normal team. How did you go about selecting it? Because you were basically freeballing on this one. Like, did you have anybody from your old team that you used to working with?
Yes, I had my AD, Joe Camp, and Susanna, our scripty supervisor. I really wanted, after the last movie, I kind of wanted to just throw away everything that I've been doing and start anew. Let's do independent. I had to do digital. Believe me, I fought them. I have a joke that I say, when Chris Nolan walks into your office and tells you he'll shoot digital, so will I. But nobody gets the joke. Like, they think that I'm on the same level as him. No, I know that I'm not. But and I hired a brand new crew. I love the people I've worked with through the years, hands down. But I needed to shake the tree a little bit and get a little. The job is difficult. That is never going to go away. The job is always difficult. But I sort of needed a new challenge for myself to put me, my feet to the fire and say, let's make this different. And so I hired a whole new crew.
So when you were, so you took that on with a smaller schedule, people you didn't know already. It's feeling fun and challenging. So in this, you have basically one bona fide movie star in Jennifer, and then the rest of the cast had a lot of diversity in terms of like how much experience that they had. Some had, listen, Dove has a gazillion hours of, on camera time, Danielle less, anyway. So how did you balance your days in terms of like, was there people who needed a lot of takes and then other people didn't need to? Like, I'm just curious. You don't need to name names, but it's sort of like, but how was that for you?
Jennifer was.
No.
No, as you know, and maybe most of you know,
Jennifer looks like she doesn't need a lot of takes.
No, she's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Almost in the beginning. But no, we had a slew of young kids who were eager and excited to be there every single day and came to the table. The girl Bex who plays Hannah, she's on screen like a minute, maybe a handful of lines. She came to set every day with ideas, just tons of ideas, and I'm like, just go for it, girl, because you are creating something out of nothing, and I'm loving every second of it, and I think she's delightful. But no, I think that shooting this, everyone knows going in, you have a minute to shoot it, and it's an ensemble cast, and everybody needs equal time.
Did you have rehearsal?
We had not acting rehearsal. No, because I had no prep. It was comedy, and so I had rehearsal. But because casting backed up and scouting backed up, I had 5 minutes to talk. Literally like, okay, so your character is this and you're dealing with that, and come to me if you have any questions. It was just nuts. We had a lot of dancing rehearsals, but not, we would just have weekend conversations. And the kids and I just stayed in contact. But the cast for this is, I'm fortunate enough to have worked with, on almost all my movies, Kathy Sandrich Galfond, who knows my sensibilities so...
The casting director.
Yes, the casting director. So well. Almost every single kid that's in this movie, every person that came into this movie was the first person who auditioned. And she just knows me so well. I'm like, done. Like, that person has to be beat. Bex came in for Hannah. Actually, she's the only one I saw a whole bunch of girls for. And she sat down, and her and I talked for 10 minutes. And the whole time we were talking, I'm like, please be able to act. Please, I love you so much. Just as a person, I hope you can act. Because that's important. You're not only finding the right person for the role, but you're finding the right person for the the whole overall movie. And then on that, just really quickly, I never look at anything anyone's ever done. I don't look at their resumes. I don't look at their reels. I don't want to know anything. I only want to know who the person is that's coming in to bring me their character. And then you find out, oh, they did A, B, and C. Now, I knew Danielle because at the time, who played Willowdean, at the time, Patty Cakes was the big Sundance movie, and we were lucky enough to have friends over at Fox, and we went to go, they showed us a screening of it. So, bless you. So I knew who she was, but everyone else who comes in, I don't pay any attention, and I just want to find the real truth of what these actors are bringing in. Is that the 5-minute sign there, Chris?
Oh wow! And I'm going to be okay. Well, this is this is easy.
Jojo, we can ramble.
Oh, dude,
I can ramble.
Okay, so what are your favorite scenes in the movie?
That's an awful question.
It's not. It's not because they're not your children. They're like
but there's so many things in the movie.
I know. Do you have any scenes that come up and you're like, I really love this scene?
I love everything with Lucy. Mm-hmm. Well, because she's my truth. She's my heart of the whole movie. I love the fight after the boy gets kicked in the balls. I love everything with Millie. Like, it's one of those gross
Millie
answers.
I think that Maddie is like one of the big, exciting, discoveries of this movie.
She's fantastic. But it's hard to say, and it's really boring, and I know it. I love every aspect of this movie. I remembered what I was going to say. So 30 days, here we go. It came back, the old lady brain. 30 days, and I kept panicking that we didn't have enough to shoot. We don't have enough to shoot. Oh my God, put a camera here, grab this. Is there another scene I can grab? Just in panic mode because, I didn't know if on the page it was going to translate. So I get into the edit, and I watch the editor's cut, and it's 2 hours and 49 minutes. I think I have enough movie. And that was where the problem was bringing it down to 145, I think it is, because there's nothing modular. It's modular. Oh my God, my mouth's not working. They're all tethered. So it was like nauseating, like how hard it was to bring it down, because everything was glued to everything else.
If you'd had more time, what would you have done differently?
I don't know. I kind of love working at this pace. I love having, the fire behind me for some reason. I work better that way. If I have too much time to plan, I'm going to second guess everything. I'm going to I'm not going to trust my instincts. My gut is where I go always. And when I have too much time to question the gut, then I get a little nervous. Like 27 Dresses, they hired me. I prepped it, I shot it, and I released it in less than 10 months. And that was my second movie. And I loved it. Like I don't even
remember that being
that
my
fast. Gosh,
that was crazy.
It was insane, but there was something about it that I loved because you're just like, we have to do it. There's no other choice but just get up and go. And that's
we have another name for that. It's called TV. That's what you do.
That is true.
Okay, so just because this is sort of what's of very much of the moment with this. Talked about working with Dolly Parton. Like, how did that all come to be? How did that happen? What was that experience? How do you find her to be?
She's amazing. She's Dolly Parton. I mean, she's everything you want her to be times 1,000. And she had already known about the book. So when her manager approached her about doing the movie, she's like, oh. I believe Danny Nozell, her manager, went out of the room and came back with 2 versions of Dumplin, the book. So she's like, whatever I can do. We asked, because there's so much of her classical music in there and classics. And we needed a deal. We were doing it for no money, but she's such a huge component to the movie. So we
couldn't have really done it without her.
We absolutely couldn't have done it. No, the movie wouldn't have been made. No way. She absolutely agreed to give us all of these old songs at a good price. And then we wanted to be sneaky. Like, can you please write, maybe write an original and redo one of your old songs? Because we didn't want to be greedy. We were so grateful she wanted to participate. And then Buck Damon, our music supervisor, brought in Linda Perry. And the two of those 2 women went off to Tennessee and came back with so many songs. It was unbelievable. They inspired each other in such a great way that we ended up. Did you sneeze? Anyway, she was dynamic, and truthfully couldn't have done it without her. And she's been such a champion behind this movie, and loves the story. And we brought her into an earlier screening, her and Jennifer, and we snuck them in the back. And she had said, I was just a couple rows in front of them, and Jennifer and Dolly said afterwards, she said she kept leaning to Jen. She was crying through the movie. I mean, you can imagine, right? Just not only the subject matter, but she's the basis of the film. How the friends get together, Lucy, all of it is Dolly. So she's crying, and there'd be a funny scene, and she goes, I can't laugh because they'll know it's me. And then she says, but they don't know my tears.
Oh,
so
God.
Sweet.
So wrapping up, what do you walk away with? What's your greatest sense of satisfaction? What's your overall experience?
Well, at this point, the movie was what it was. I had a great experience working very, very hard with a bunch of amazing people who were there all for the same goal. I do that every day of the week. That's my favorite part of movie making. Now that the movie's come out on Netflix, and I'm so grateful to them, because the whole point of me doing the movie was to reach girls and to help, in my small way, change the narrative and the mindset of young girls being raised in the world, hopefully to be stronger and better and not have to carry all the weights that I had to as a kid. And because they have such a great finger on the pulse of girls, it's getting Netflix. Yes, I said that right in the beginning. Thank you for correcting me.
It wasn't correcting. I was re-emphasizing.
Re-emphasizing. Sorry, we got into our first fight in front of you.
That was crazy.
So really weird. Anyway, I'm elated because it's been received from these young people and people who feel on the outside or whatever they may be struggling with, exactly what the intent was of why I made this movie, and that brings me at this moment the greatest joy.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
You guys, thank you for sticking around.
Thank you so much for sticking around. That's so crazy. So thank you. Bless your hearts.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. If you'd like to hear more, you can find past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay tuned for more episodes, including our upcoming Meet the Nominees series, which will feature panel discussions with DGA Award-nominated feature film and documentary directors. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Also, if you're enjoying our podcast, please take a moment to rate and review us on iTunes. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow cinephiles find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.